A concern with wellness has probably been around as long as human beings have existed. Some of the earliest notations of a wellness practice or a wellness tradition are the Ayurveda practitioners who were an oral tradition in India, probably 5,000 years ago or more. In this tradition, there is a sense of each person having a unique constitution with three different energies: movement, metabolism, and body structure. About 2,000 years ago, the Chinese developed a system of wellness known as Taoism. It was also a holistic tradition, emphasizing a connection to nature and our self-healing abilities as human beings. There was also a focus on prevention, and the core constructs, core ideas in this traditional Chinese medicine were qi, an energy, and then yin and yang, two different poles which qi flowed through. Finally, the Greek and Roman tradition, about 500 BC to be around the birth of Christ, had a system of four humors which were expected to be kept in balance one with another. One part of the Greek and Roman tradition of wellness identified a god. In the Greek system, that god was Asclepius, the god of healing and medicine. His father was Apollo, but his mother was unclear. This makes him, kind of a second generation amongst the gods. And you may be familiar with his snake-entwined staff. That's a symbol of medicine still today. What you may not know is that Asclepius had four daughters. Again, motherhood is not clear, but his one daughter was Iaso, who represented the recuperation from illness; Acesso, which represented the healing process; Aegle, who represented good health; Panacea, who represented the universal remedy; and then Hygiea, cleanliness, is the forerunner of the wellness movement. Myers and Sweeney in 2005 suggests that while Panacea was the forerunner of treating people with illness, Hygiea initiated the wellness movement. In the 19th century, many alternative therapies emerged in the West. We see here icons for naturopathy, homeopathy, chiropractic, and osteopathy. Each of these approaches promoted the idea that health is maintained through lifestyle choices: diet, exercise, and a balance of mind, body, and spirit. As you can see here, these professions all continued some relationship with Asclepius and his snake-entwined staff. Sometimes psychology has continued this relationship with the staff of Asclepius in their logo or their icon. Now, if you don't like the idea of the logo or icon for your profession being a staff with a snake wrapped around it, you can consider adopting Psyche as your icon. She was a beautiful Greek mortal. In fact, she was so beautiful that Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, got jealous and sent her son Cupid to shoot her with one of his love arrows so that she would fall in love with some monster. This plan goes awry when Cupid scratches himself with his own arrow and falls in love with Psyche. This causes a whole big mess, but that is not relevant to our talk today. As early as 1918, Alfred Adler introduced the term Gemeinschaftsgefühl, a definition of positive and healthy style of engaging with the world. Aside from Adler and individual psychology, most of the early work in wellness was in the medical field. In 1948, the United Nations created the World Health Organization, and the Constitution of the World Health Organization contains a definition of health that has had a lot of influence on the wellness movement. Halbert Dunn published a collection of his radio talks on wellness in a book, High Level Wellness. Beginning in the 1970s, Bill Hetler organized the National Wellness Institute, and it has continued to conduct an annual conference. Individual psychology practitioners continued to develop the idea of mental health and the construct of Gemeinschaftsgefühl, leading to a model of psychological wellness that was first presented by Tom Sweeney and Mel Whitmer in 1991. Here is that definition of health from the World Health Organization that I just talked about. The construct of Gemeinschaftsgefühl has multiple translations in the individual psychology literature. Social interest is the most common, but other translations include community feeling, social feeling, and humanistic identification. For Griffith and Powers, the key parts of the construct are an individual's awareness of belonging in the human community and cosmos, and an understanding of his or her responsibility for their impact on the community. I think of it as the ability to engage with others in an equal and respectful style. GSG is the index of mental health in individual psychology, and a lack of GSG is always due to increased inferiority feelings in the person. The individual self model started as a conceptual model of wellness based on individual psychology's 3 life tasks: love, work, and friendship. This model has spirituality and self-regulation at the center and uses a circle to indicate the dynamic interaction between the various elements, as well as a dynamic interaction between the individual and a variety of life forces, such as family, community, religion, education, government, media, and business and industry. These researchers went on to develop and validate the Wellness Evaluation of Lifestyle Inventory, WELL, which is available in several forms. The indivisible self 4-dimensional model is built on the mind, body, spirit triad and a relational factor. It has not been used by many writers or researchers, and the 4F well inventory does not appear to be publicly available. The next step in the development of their inventory was to do a factor analysis. In a factor analysis, a correlation is run between all of the items on the questionnaire. In this visual representation, all of the items are around the outside. The next inner circle lists the 17 factors that were identified based on correlations performed on the answers of 3,043 individuals. These 17 factors were further found to cluster around 5 bigger factors. The numbers that you see are the beta coefficients, the strength of the connection. The label for each factor is based on an examination of the items that make up that factor. This is the empirical support for this 5-factor model of wellness. This research was used to modify the WELL inventory and to create the 5-WELL, the 5-factor wellness inventory of lifestyle. And here is the definition of wellness that has evolved out of the group of individual psychologists and has become the individual self model. In their landmark book on wellness, Myers and Sweeney state that they use wellness as the underlying philosophical goal for all their counseling interventions and treatment planning. The paradigm shift to a wellness model in counseling includes a shift from healing to growth and from repair to prevention. The personal wellness plan that is developed in this wellness practice is oriented around goals that are collaboratively determined by client and therapist. As we will see, their model of wellness originates with the individual psychology tasks of life. A wellness practice must be a team effort. No single person or discipline can address all the goals that emerge from the various dimensions of any holistic assessment model. It is important for you to identify and define the dimensions or factors that make up your wellness model. These dimensions will, in turn, need to be assessed for each client in your wellness practice. In the course handouts, there is a copy of the self-assessment tool for the indivisible self 5-factor model. As you complete this questionnaire, keep the 4 contexts that are defined at the beginning of the questionnaire in mind. As you work through the items for each of the 5 selves, consider how frequent each of the items is for you in all 4 contexts, placing an X in the box that most accurately describes you. There are no norms for this questionnaire, so I encourage you to reflect on the items you marked as most frequent and least frequent. You could also compute a mean score for each of the selves by assigning number values for the 5 frequencies. This would allow you to compare your score across the 5 selves.